As little as, you know, probably primary, I was always having bull regiments doing things. You know, I would lead them in a game, I would lead them in a play, I would lead them in tapo, I would lead them around William Street where I grew up as a little girl, you know. And then I moved into school.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a pay. Yeah. So let's be very honest about this thing and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trapp, thank you very much for coming to the CEO Bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show,
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to I think I'll just close it there.
Want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jean-Paul Olowo, on Instagram, Jean-Paul Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
It is a privilege of moving people towards a destiny. And for me, it would be towards God's agenda. That's the best, moving people to God's agenda. God has an agenda for everybody. And I know some people say, oh, it's too much of God. But God has a plan for this world. And so whether you're in business, you're a medical personnel, if somebody came to you, a good medical leader says, I want you not only to be healed, but to be healthy. That's the kind of mindset that I see. And it's about self. So if you ask me, am I a leader? By the grace of God, I am a leader and I am growing as a leader. And I thank God for that privilege of being a leader. And who is a leader to me? It's very simple. Someone that has a vision, but it is also someone that is there serving people. For me, that's a leader. Vision is where you want to take things. Serving is the recognition that if the things do not matter to people, drop them.
Wow.
Drop them. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do must make a difference in people's lives. Anybody who has had huge impact in history, in leadership, the impact is not measured by just the things they did, but what those things did for people's lives. Did they make a difference? So it's useless for you to make so much money and the money does not add value to people's lives.
Wow.
So for me, yes, you have to have a vision, and at the end of the day, you are serving people. It doesn't change. Leadership is leadership, whether it is at what we would call a lower level or a top level. Leadership is leadership. It's about influence. It's that influence that comes from you have a vision and you are serving people. So what changes is the level of responsibility, but the other one that people don't like is the level of accountability. You see, Jesus said, to whom much is given, much will be required. So the only differences there is the level of responsibility. When you're at the national level, you are now responsible for an entire nation. When you are a CEO, now you're no longer just looking at the department, you are looking at the entire entity. The responsibility has changed, the accountability even goes higher. Hi, this is Julius Watlonyo, pastor at Watero Church. Thank you so much for tuning into House of Talent Television. It's a great, innovative way of doing TV, and particularly for being a part of the CEO bench, talking about leadership. You know what, friends? Leadership can be tough. Leadership can be lonely, and the dynamics of leadership keep changing. I want to encourage you, watch the CEO bench so that you can get to hear real practical tips on leadership from people who are actually practicing leadership. Once again, thank you for being a part of the CEO bench right here on House of Talent Television.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake.
Yeah.
So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trapp, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
In today's world today, where things are changing quite rapidly, life is turning around quite fast all across the world. Coronavirus has come with so much that turn around the table, and before we know it, life has changed. But rapidly changing world, learning to lead our organization and to read the turbulences that comes with it is quite key. This is the CEO Bench, and of course, my guest on the CEO Bench this week and this particular morning or afternoon or night, depending on which part of the world you are in, needs no introduction. From the secret places of Orient in the West Nile Bank of Uganda to the modern masters of fashion and design as far as dressing people who are serious no matter in the world is concerned, is Santa Nzo. Santa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eddie.
How are you today?
I'm great.
And how have you been?
Well, I will say, cooking, gardening,
Yes.
loving my baby girl, and just spending time with my parents. I am blessed to still have them, both of them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just been enjoying home. We're under the lockdown.
Wow. That's a blessing right there. Santa, you are on the CEO Bench today, and I want to just dive straight to our interview. This program brings people like you who are already, riding to the top, already on the top, and people who are coming back from the top when they're retiring. But particularly in your case, you are a lady on a move right now.
Absolutely.
And you have a lot of fire going on right now.
Yes.
We want to start by first knowing who is Santa, and of course, who is Santa Nzo in a nutshell?
I'm just a very happy individual,
Yeah.
with a very flourishing, beautiful spirit.
Okay.
That's me.
And if I am to look for you when I have not known, which part of this country do you come from? First of all, are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that remind you?
I get that
Uganda,
a
yes.
lot.
Yes.
I get to places and I'm either Nigerian or African American, but I'm actually
Yeah.
very much Ugandan.
Yeah.
I am Madi from West Nile.
Okay.
That's just a few, my parents' home is a few kilometers from the Sudan,
Okay.
southern Sudan. But I am born in Kampala, so I am born, bred, groomed, developed
Wow.
in Kampala, Uganda. And actually right here, this is Kanjoja Street,
Bukoto Street.
Bukoto Street. I was
Yes.
born on Kanjoja Street, right behind.
Just the street above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in my hood.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take this moment to welcome all you guys all across the world to the CEO Bench. And of course, it's been a while. It's been a moment where we had to go into a lockdown unprepared for it. But it is what it is that coronavirus brought to us. And of course, the CEO Bench has been on that small lockdown, but we're back. And Santa, growing up, we want to know from you, what did you ever want to be in life growing up?
Okay, I always wanted to make my daddy very proud
Okay.
in whatever it is that, I was gonna do. But, I knew that I was going to be in the creative industries
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
Be it fashion, that made itself out. Be it singing, because I did a lot of rapping in school.
Wow.
Yes, as a rap star.
Okay.
If there's anyone from Botiki
Yes.
College,
College,
Wairaka College,
Yeah.
Jinja, Jiko, yeah, I did a lot of rapping. And then I have a gold medal in acting, so in stage. So I did a bit of acting right before I branched into modeling, and modeling then was it for me. So I always knew that I was going to be in the creative
Space.
sector.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, but what inspired my fashion and modeling journey are two things. My mom always had a machine, making dresses, similar dresses. for her girls that would wear on sandals, all floral, all below the knee. And then
Yes, yeah.
I also was blessed to have my dad bring for us The Sound of Music video when we were little. And when I watched that, I fell in love with Maria, the lead actress,
Yes.
and I would sing all her beautiful songs, and I would do her little, you know, round turns
Yes, yes.
and waltz a bit, but I did not touch the glory of the divine in the singing. I touched it when I was on the catwalk. The first day I did the catwalk,
Yeah.
I captured, and I knew that that was my call.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So, thanks to Daddy and Mommy, first of all, for the machine being home and making dresses from home.
Yes.
I think any African growing child then and now would very much relate with your story, because mothers used to make these things from home for their daughters, and it was such a big thing.
It was, and it's very important that
Yeah.
we do it
Yeah.
today as well, because you see, our parents came from an era of the British or the colonial rule.
Yeah.
So, you know, schooling was wholesome.
Yeah.
And so mommy's teachers were, I believe, Scottish, British,
yeah.
and they taught her these things. And for her to be a complete woman,
Yeah.
she had to do her math, pass it, do her English, do all her subjects, but at the same time they taught them to stitch proper clothing,
Yeah.
hands, and also with machine,
Yeah.
and then they also taught to cook and bake.
Wow.
So all those are skills that are life skills
Yeah.
that I think that our children today need to be taught.
Wow.
Yes.
Which something we are not quite doing very well in this era. But Santa, did you ever see yourself becoming who you are today as a, you know, did you ever see yourself, did you ever, at one moment?
I am privileged to be born of a very successful father. I saw success from the time I was in Kanjocha Street. I always knew that I was going to be in the lane that I had seen my father in. I saw the cars that he rode in. They were very prestigious government cars.
Yes.
He worked for the government. He was very successful. Then he joined politics. You know, he's now retired, and you know, he'll be chairman of a university here. He'll be all those things, but he's very instrumental in community. I wanted that for me. I did not see myself as doing what my mommy did,
Yes.
which are beautiful things that made me who I am,
Yeah.
but I saw myself more in the line of my daddy. And I always knew that I was going to walk that walk.
Okay.
And so when in a nutshell, I knew
Yeah.
that this was the walk I was
Yeah.
gonna walk.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Wow. Well, we're having an interview with Santa Anzo, who is the CEO of Uganda International, founder and the CEO of Uganda International Fashion Week.
No, founder and president.
Founder and president, actually, yes, of Uganda International Fashion Week, as well as the founder and the MD and the chief designer of Arapapa by Santa Anzo. I'm sure you've interacted with Arapapa very much wherever you are. And to all of you guys from the US and the UK and Australia, and of course the guys in Denmark and Sweden, well, Santa Anzo is here. And of course, the people here at home, and of course, guys in Nairobi, we're going to have a good ride with Santa, you know, and talking about change management, leadership, and transformation. Santa, leadership is the core value of this TV program that you're on right now. And we look at it from a very interesting part. One, self-leadership. And first of all, before we get into the self-leadership, we want to know from you, to you, Santa Anzo, what is your definition of leadership?
You know, leadership is guidance. It can be mentorship. You know, just taking charge of a group or a segment or an industry or a nation, whatever it is. You are in a leadership, or you're in a position that guides.
Yeah.
Yes, that guides a vision, a mission. goals.
Wow.
Yes.
And on that note and with that definition on leadership, are you a leader?
Yes, I've always been a leader.
Okay.
And I think that parents need to be keen to see this about their children. My mommy didn't see it. I think I was just I was just this problem and gezi happening to her all the time.
Yeah.
But as little as, you know, probably primary, I was always having bull regiments, doing things. You know, I would lead them in a game, I would lead them in a play, I would lead them in tapo, I would lead them around William Street where I grew up as a little girl, you know. And then I moved into school. Primary, I was mostly in a girl guide and in the drama and dance class. I wasn't a leader there. But in secondary, my leadership skills came to the top. I was always a prefect. My first role was a prefect of furniture. I was in charge of the inventory in my school. And then after that, I was the women affairs
Wow.
minister.
Wow.
And then I was also, you know, always vice chairperson of, you know, the social groups in school.
Yeah.
I was an eagle. My social group was an eagle.
Yeah.
So I was the vice chair there. And, you know, all through. So it's not by accident that when I started modeling, there was a vacuum. There was no leadership. There were no professional management agencies for models at that time. And I had this burning desire to be on stage and walk it. So I found myself again assembling, putting together all the interested girls and boys who were mostly my age then, and get them onto the, you know, onto the catwalk, and then seek out, you know, sponsorships, seek out partnerships with, you know, the hotels, with corporate companies to see to it that our activities would be funded. So in so doing, I was just chasing a dream, but actually I was being a leader. And then there's no telling that immediately after fashion, fashion was formed as a career right after modeling, and also there was a vacuum in fashion. And because of the Uganda International Fashion Week and the goals and ideals that I was pushing forth, I found myself rising up. And so guys like yourselves, sir, and everybody else then would be calling me in response, you know, to respond or to advise on matters, fashion, matters, entrepreneurship, matters, modeling.
Wow.
So I am a leader.
Wow.
Thank you.
Let's talk about self-leadership. Your story is quite very fascinating from where you're coming, you know, from. A lot of people don't know where to start from and when to start. And this particular program, the CEO Bench, looks quite very deeply into self-leadership. If you were to define self-leadership, given your story, what would be the definition? And in a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say has been your leadership journey, self-leadership?
I think it's been very progressive. It's still a journey for me. I am telling you that I am functioning at 6% as far as I'm concerned. I haven't even gotten to my 20%, and yet I have to hit 100%. You know, so it's been very progressive. I have a very long way to go. I am open to unlearning and learning, and I'm doing a lot of that. But I would say that self-leadership has no definition for as long as you are not self-aware. It starts with getting to know who you really are. There has to be a need, or a deep need within oneself to identify who they are. And the only way one can do that is, excuse me for preaching, is but you have to be tagged and in sync with the Creator. We didn't create ourselves. And even as amazing as you may think that I am, I can assure you that I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't say prayer this morning. And so you need to be tapped into your source, who is your creator. That is where you delve deep into your inner man. Your inner man is where God lives. He tells you who you are. He tells you who you are. He tells you your dreams and aspirations and actually guides you on that path. And so for me, it starts with a journey of self-awareness, self-knowledge, accepting yourself, and then getting to know your values. And then trying, much as we fail, we must remain honest to our journey and our values, and then living by them. That is, for me, the beginning and end of self-leadership.
Wow. Well, you have gotten the best definition so far for leadership, self-leadership. And of course, in summary, Santa is saying you need to define who you are, you need to find who you are, find self, give self meaning, and continuously put self on the path that leads self to a meaningful journey. But doing that, you must have a spirit in you that continue to guide you to the next step. If you veer off from that spirit or from that path, then there's a possibility that you will not be able to realize who you are and what values you stand for. Stay right there, we're going for a break, and when we come back, Santa will be taking us through a little bit more about leadership journey as Santa and Zoe from, Uganda International Fashion Week through to Arapapa, and of course, the journey of going to the world. How do you lead yourself? How do you start? How do you move? What do you do? What are the journeys? What are the things, the do's and don'ts? Stay right there, we'll be right back after the break. This is the CEO Bench.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake.
Yeah.
So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. When a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion, they are heavier than the lion, they are more intelligent than the lion, they are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trapp, thank you very much for coming to the CEO Bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They have moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince
Welcome back from that break. This is a CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and my guest this morning or this afternoon or night, depending on which part of the world you are watching this program from, is Santa Nzo. Santa, welcome back.
Thank you, Eddie.
The Uganda International Fashion Week founder and president, as well as the chief designer and the MD of Arapapa by Santa Nzo, over the years, I've been interacting with so many people across the world. And you started from the confinement of your mother's sitting room, as you have stated, and moved to a different place, and now we're in a different place. That journey has got a lot to do with what leadership is in life. Leadership is about finding the path, leading self, giving self meaning, and moving forward. And along the way, you will have so many people that join you. If you are good to inspire them, they will come. If you are good to encourage them, they will join you on the journey. If you are good to, transform their lives and they feel the transformation, they will join you. Let's talk about the leadership journey of Uganda International Fashion Week to start with. And the foray into Arapapa.
Oh, okay. So, first of all, it's not Arapapa or Arapapa. That's
How
very.
do you pronounce it?
It's Arapapa.
It's
Arapapa. Yeah, Arapapa. It means butterfly in my mother tongue, in Madi.
Wow.
Yeah, but in a local Ugandan dialect.
Yes.
Yes, because
Which sounds cool. You not know that it's really a local.
Yes,
But
yes, which is why when I'm out of Uganda, it's both all my names. Actually, Santa is very Latin, and Anzo is very Latin, but Anzo is actually, and then it's very Latin, and then Arapapa is as well. So when you get to the USA and you are mixing with the Hispanic community, these are very common words. So I am not unique there, and so, but it's really in my local dialect, and so Arapapa comes before, before Uganda International Fashion Week, because Arapapa is what is my bread and butter, and it is also what butters the bread and actually provides the bread for Uganda International Fashion Week. Now, Arapapa is where I practice my craft and get paid. But Uganda International Fashion Week is where I move into a larger sphere of duplicating myself for the good of others, is where I create opportunities for myself, but also mostly for up and coming, for the country at large. It is where I do what the corporate world would call the social corporate responsibility. This is where my responsibility to my country, Uganda, comes into play. This is where I tap into a sphere that is not embraced and spoken about a lot in this country, but a sphere of giving selflessly from the bounty of which life has given. And Uganda International Fashion Week for me had to be because it is a sign of continuity of the sector. So tomorrow, if Santa is normal, and say for instance, God forbid, it won't happen, but you know, just for talk. Should there be no Arapapa, there should be an industry that takes this country forward. I am very passionate about my industry, fashion and clothing, because I've been blessed to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've been blessed to see the end. Even though all may look grim right now and gloomy, I know what the end is going to be. This is a sector that is globally known to employ, at least in sub-Saharan Africa, fashion and clothing is the biggest employer. We are only second to agriculture, which is food. And so we all didn't come here naked. We don't get out of even our beds naked, for heaven's sake. There's an article of clothing somewhere. There's an article of fashion. And so I know that this sector is able to employ all our unemployed youth, women and girls especially, and as well as the boy child and the man. This is a sector that is so dynamic and is so exciting, and it is able to also create income at household level. But someone had to give. I had to give my bread and butter to educate, to promote, to develop, and to empower this sector. And that's where Uganda International Fashion Week. That's how, you know, it came about, and that is what has kept it going regardless of the times.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Well,
so
yes.
In regards to leadership,
Yeah.
I had to die to self, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
As a black man and a black person,
Yeah.
I had to die to self to ensure that this sector continues. Because if it was going to be about me and my egos and, you know, the labels and who I am, there was going to be no sector. I had to die to self. I had to let go of my needs at an individual level and put the needs of my sector ahead of me.
Wow.
Yes.
Santa, that's quite a very fascinating part of leadership to actually hear it coming from you. I want you to take us through to the leadership of the finding of Arapapa itself, the start of it.
Arapapa.
Of Arapapa. I need to get this right.
Arapapa. There is no English in
Yes,
it.
yes.
It is very
we're trying to baptize it. But I want to just, you know, as you sip your coffee, just want to just take us through the leadership process. How did you start Arapapa? How did you even, what was going on in your mind when it all started? Because somebody out there may not know the real story behind it and what really happens. And how were you able to lead yourself throughout these years to where you are? It's not an easy journey, I'm sure.
Arapapa or Arapapa.
Yes.
See, now you very cool Ugandans have flipped my tongue.
Yes.
Yes, so Arapapa is a vision that I am carrying, and a path that I was called into, but I cannot sit here and brag that it began and started with just Santa Anzo. Like everything else I have spoken about earlier, like everything else I do, Arapapa started with a very spiritual journey. It was a dream. I needed to model. I needed to dress the way I desired to as a young girl. There was no opportunity. Like most things I have earned, I had to create it. I had to create the opportunity for myself. Now, at that time, I feel that I may recycle based on the history I already gave earlier, but
Just go.
you know, we started as a modeling agency also because of the need. Here I was needing to model, having a burning desire to be on stage. I knew so many other girls and boys that needed to do the same. Arapapa came. Arapapa was born as a platform for everybody that had the interest to actually exercise it. And then we were lucky that, or blessed, that the art of modeling was bought by this corporate company as their 5th anniversary on 27th of July in 2001. That was Kampala Casino of Bob Kabonero. And, you know, and so actually as such on 25th of July, Arapapa is 20 years.
Wow. Are we going to cut the cake?
There is so much going on at that time, but I definitely have a beautiful plan that is going to be unveiled very soon for the 20 years of Arapapa. You know, and so they paid us our first millions from living on Rolex.
Which means that the pearls, the good figures.
Yes, and in cash. And I held it in my hands. Remember, at that time I was banking 50,000, and now Mr. Daudani, my bank, and then sees me coming in with millions and is like, ask that young lady to come to my office. That was the MD of my bank then. It was called Capital Finance.
Okay.
Yeah. So then with that, I had to move into clothing because now as models, we used to showcase clothing from different
people.
Yes, and I want to recognize and thank a beautiful lady, Sarah Kizito of Lady Charlotte. She was one of my, you know, I must say she did mentor me in a very silent way. Every day I went to her boutique, and Sarah Kizito never ever looked down on this desperate girl. That just, yes, I went into her boutique every day and sat there. I waited for my friend, but I also looked. I touched clothes, I fitted on some, and I bought some. Slowly, 10K at a time. 10K at a time I saved and bought. I deposited until I took like 3 pieces from Lady Charlotte. Beautiful clothing. And we used to do lots, you know, several other fashion designers. We did some also for Natasha. For House of Kaine, that was Natasha Kaine Mbabazi, Natasha Karugire now. But yeah, we showcased some of her clothing. We did even for the Peacock Fashions then, you know, we Bill and Bobby images, then there were Tinga Tinga. You know, we did a lot. But then there came a time when there was this need for me, you see. I'm also from a background of very patriotic and nationalistic parents, you know, who participated in teaching the national anthem when we got our independence. So you are not complete unless, to my parents, you're not complete unless you're doing something for this country. And then these clothes were all mostly imported, except the ones, of course, for House of Kaine, they were made here. But there then was a hunger for me to showcase something that spoke a very Ugandan story, made in Uganda. And that is how Arapapa came into play, because now I had to look for fabrics that were made in Uganda. Then we had the hand-woven Kikoi, beautiful, beautiful fabric. It's painful to note that that factory shut down. We had the organic hand, you know, it was organic cotton, raw cotton.
Wow.
It broke my heart to see those factories, you know, closed down. But those fabrics plus my designs that I created opened the door for Arapapa, because when I wore them, then the corporates ordered for them. Then my friends ordered for them. And then we moved from modeling, showcasing imported clothing to showcasing made in Uganda. The pride I felt, the pride we felt. Suddenly, Uganda had an identity, and CNN was calling. BBC was taking me around Kampala in Owino market, St. Balikudembe now,
Yes,
but
yes, yes.
Owino is always
Owino
a
will
classic.
always remain the identity of the place.
That's
Yes,
where I
yes,
got
yeah,
my
yeah.
finest designer
yes,
clothing
yes.
before I started designing.
Wow.
So yeah, so you know the story is a bit intertwined, but I hope that somehow I'm answering
Yes, you did.
your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That right there is the epitome of self-leadership. Leadership has to be definitive, as we learned from Mr. Tony Otoa of the Stanbic Business Incubator
A beautiful mind, I must say.
Exactly. And he said something very interesting, which I am glad to hear it from you right now. Santa, of course, all of that shows that leadership is about charting the course. John Maxwell often says that anyone can steer the ship, but it always takes a leader to chart the course. Obviously, on this journey, we can see that you were able to chart the course, and many people in that space were able to find meaningful jobs or, you know, paychecks that would define where they would want to be in life. Now, I want to just ask you a question, Santa. You have been a runway model before. There are a lot of stories, sad stories, quite very interesting stories we hear about, you know, runway stories. How were you able to outgrow these things? Some of the stories that we hear from the girls are quite very painful all across the world. But here you are, the CEO, the MD, the founder, and going. How were you able to navigate the turbulent path?
What problems, if I may
The
ask?
problems of, we hear that there's a lot of manipulation of girls in the process of being a runway model. Two, many of them were sexually abused or harassed or used, and they never achieved their goals. And we've had these stories over and over. But here you are with a very beautiful story. How were you able to outgrow this and even lead your colleagues to where you are today? There has to be a story there.
So girls,
Yes.
girls, know thyself and know the power that you wield. And parents, teach your children their value which is infinite, which is immense. I think that if you have no purpose, if you were my little girl by 3 years, she knew her value. There was nobody that was going to shout at her. Even if you were a parent, she'll tell you, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Now, if you are not, again, self-aware, if you have no value, if you don't esteem yourself before others do, then you can easily be led astray. I came into this sector with very strong grounding, even though at that time my parents had retired. So they chose to actually leave Kampala and go back to Moyo because they felt they needed to give back to their cradle. And I was left alone with my siblings, and it was a very difficult time, I will tell you. There was lack. My mom said to Daddy, Santa is still young. I was still doing my senior 6. And she said, Santa is still young. Get her to Moyo. They had already gone. Put her on the bus. I want her in Moyo. I told Daddy,
I'm not coming.
no, mommy is today if you meet her, she's so sweet, so loving, you don't want to leave her.
Yes.
But the mommy, when I was growing up, was a disciplinarian. There was very little other stuff. It was discipline, academics, and character. Full stop. And so I told Daddy, I'm not going to Moyo. I will lose myself. I have enough of that already. So he says, okay, here is pocket money. But even though when Daddy gave me pocket money, it was not enough. And so I had to make ends meet. Now, you're going to do two things. You're either going to find a job, however dirty it looked. You see these nails and hands that I take very good care of. My mom got to a point where she would hit them because I would tell her, I can't touch that, it's so dirty. She would pull me, get the Umoja slippers and, you know, these hands get things clean. So then I would wash the sink, scrub the bathroom, do everything dirty to get clean. So she was passing on something to me that Santa, however dirty a job or a situation may be, it takes your mind and your hands to transform them into something prestigious that you like to be associated with. So I found a job to fund the rest of my needs as a waitress. I wasn't broke. But when I lost my waitressing job, when I quit it, life became harder because remember, I had an opportunity to get married. I met some very, good, European
Gentlemen,
men, yes, that offered me. I've been offered an engagement ring 3 times, so I could have married them, but I had a purpose that had been prayed over me and that had been sold to me. I had a dream to chase. So even those situations could not quench the thirst I had. Getting married, having a beautiful home, going to Europe every summer or whatever. It was beautiful, and I think I tried a bit of it, but I had a goal.
Didn't work for you.
It didn't work for me. I had a goal because I was taught to be
Reliance.
Yes, and to also live my dream as it is. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is I was able to survive that because I could, number one, not get into any situation that I didn't want or that did not meet my expectations. I walked away. Even today, Eddie, I will go here, go into a meeting, and if it doesn't meet my purpose, I walk away because I have a set standard for myself. And so it's very painful what happened to lots of beautiful girls in this city during my time and even after. And even now, there are very promising lives that have been ruined.
Yeah.
I have heard stories of agencies selling their girls off as escorts. I have heard those. It never happened to me. Maybe because they did not know how to package and present it to me. You see, because
maybe because you are very tough and then you present a very resentment sort of like position. Yes, to say no. People also know this is a no-go area and this you can play around with this. But from your story, from what you've said so far, I mean, over to you.
I guess it was hard to make those opportunities known to me, but the guys that were bold enough to approach Santa also, went through a set, if you did stuff that I didn't think were within my comfort, I would or would lead me to my goal, I nicely exited myself from that situation. And so I don't blame the girls, but again, Eddie, most of who we are now as a mature woman, I realize that you can take a child to a beautiful school. But you see, some of those values, most of the values that, or most of our traits are constructed based on what we got at home.
Yeah.
Which is why I started by saying, parents, mothers, do your part, because the voice of my mother remained in these ears and in this mind, even when I was on the catwalk. Even when I was having a wine, a glass of wine somewhere, I
would hear
mommy's voice.
Then you know what the action will be like.
It will always be discipline, character, academics. And so if it wasn't that, I had to pack up and go home. Yeah, so everything is, the Bible says that train a child. Train a child. And so if you're, for instance, a Gucci pair of shoes, a Louis Vuitton handbag. No, I was born on the slopes of Kololo. I wore Gucci at 19, 20, immediately after school. I earned these things. So it was going to be, it's very difficult. You won't find me with a different swag when I have my Maasai sandals. Maasai, the Maasai sandals. Yes. You won't find me with a different swag when I'm wearing my Maasai sandals and when I'm wearing Gucci or Louis Vuitton. I will be the same. I will be the same. Yeah. Whether I'm riding a Noah, a Mercedes-Benz, or a Land Rover, yeah. I will be the same. Yeah. So my self-worth is way beyond anything that can be compromised.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I warned you, and I think that we have gotten that part of it already from Santa. And thank you very much, everybody who has really nominated Santa. Now I understand where the votes were quite higher to bring Santa Nzo onto the CEO bench. I think there's a part of you that people were missing, wanted to know, have never heard before, don't know how to get it. I don't think the traditional newspapers will bring it out very easily. But it's a CEO bench. We're going to take a break, and when we come back on the third part of this show, we'll be talking about change management and transformation as we wind up the show. But I think that if there's a lesson you can pick from Santa right there is stay focused, parents and children. And there's nothing impossible if you are focused where you want to go. The CEO bench will be right back after this break.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
you a leader, do you know what leadership is? Do you understand change management or even transformation? What are you doing to change your life? A lot of people don't know what to do and how to do it, and how to go about the situation they find themselves in. And quite often, so many people are confused. But on the CEO bench, we strive to give you opportunity to be able to learn from those who are doing it well, those who have done it before, those who are doing it, those who are on the rise to the top, and those already on the top, and as well as those who are on the top coming down. On this show, we brought you the former executive director of KCCA, Andrew Chitaka. You've had a beautiful story coming from him. And we brought you a business philanthropist and, of course, a business mind trainer. Dr. Jean Paul Olowo was here on the show, as well as, Tony Toa. We brought you Mona Faces. But this particular show today brought you the person with the heaviest vote, the fourth female on the show, Santa Nzo. Welcome back to the program.
It's a pleasure. And Eddie, before you ask me, I just want to thank you for using your huge platform to educate, to inspire and motivate,
Thank you, Santa.
Others.
Thank you,
and
Santa.
also for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Santa.
Thank you.
In fact, we didn't give you the opportunity. We have no power to give you the opportunity. Those who you serve, who have interacted with your brand, who have interacted with you as an individual, are the very same people who said, we want to see Santa Nzo, and they voted you overwhelmingly. And so we said, our job is to provide the opportunity and the platform for you to be here. And in so doing, we are happy that you are here and you're able to answer some of these questions. So we want to say thank you everybody out there who voted Santa Nzo to come on the show. And I would like to say thank you to my sister from another mother, who is the assistant professor for design communication in Washington University, Professor Penny Nachayo. One of the people who follow what you do.
Oh.
Yes, Daniel Engole, all the way in the US, Soul Reverend, if you remember him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and Chigola Mwendo, all the way in Germany. Edwin is a resident panelist of Coffee at Endiro. We drink coffee together, yes, so from the coffee place.
Thank you.
So there are quite a number of people, and my wife, who is at home, who follows you quite a bit. So there are a number of people who voted for you. Unfortunately, we cannot pronounce or rather list all their names out, but we want to say thank you very much for them. And Santa, welcome back to the program. We want to dive straight into the question of change management. Santa, change management is a very systematic approach all through your life and your journey as an MD of Arapapa. I hope I've gotten this time right.
Arapapa.
Arapapa. Yes. It's very key. It's tagged and pegged on change management. You are managing change from every angle of your movement to where you are. And we've learned quite a bit in that journey. But I want to take you straight to change management, which is a systematic approach to dealing with transition. The transformation of things, you're transiting from one end to the next end. You've told us the story of how you started as a group. How did you become alone in the group? Are you still with the rest of the group together? And of course, that's a transformation, that's a change, that's a transition of there, of course. And in an organization, we will call it the transformation of an organization's goal, processes, as well as the technologies that they use to manage the process. The purposes of change is normally to implement the strategies and, of course, to effect the image and controlling the change within the environment. Two things often happen when we're doing change management. Number one, we prepare the change. Number two, we craft the vision and plan for the change, which you have stated quite clearly. And then three, we implement the change. What was the journey like in change management? There are millions of people out there, billions of people even, who don't know how to leave one spot of comfort to the next. You are on the runway. You come from an affluent background, okay? You have come from the upper echelon of university. From the way you speak and express yourself, it's quite clear that your parents were able to take you through. And you present a different mindset of people, not traditionally how girls are always looked at. But this one is a much more straightforward person, level-headed person. How were you able to pull yourself through this? If you would share that journey with so many people who may not get the opportunity, but also the girls who don't know how to move from point A to point B. Those you started with are now seeing you and saying, look at Santa. I wish I had stayed the path, or may I wish I've learned something from Santa. The interaction with the international community. Let's dive it from there. Change management.
Wow, you just took me through very, I have had to relive my years as a rapapa right from the start.
Yes.
And but first, let me correct you. I was born, yes, with enough. That is in the mid rule of Idi Amin.
Yes.
But my family lost all of that, and so we had to leave these plush environments. And I am a former refugee, because then Dad was arrested. You know how it was. You were educated those days. That was enough reason to throw you behind the bars. And my dad was arrested, brought to Kampala. Mommy and the rest of us were banished to the village, and the politics of revenge took over. Then government of Idi Amin was overthrown, and the Obote government came in, and there was need to revenge and teach the West Nilers, who, by the way, were not part of the mess that had been created.
Yeah.
We were kicked out of our homes. Our homes were burnt to the ground. This girl born in, Mulago Hospital then was a 5-star experience. And my mom had me there, and she said, Santa, wow, because she had had some in Moyo.
Yeah.
But by the time Santa was born, the family was in Kampala.
Yeah.
But all of these luxuries that Santa was known for, Santa was a girl of, I had milk till I was 5 years. I was just very demanding as a child, and my father made sure. My mom said, no, she has to be like everybody else. We don't have it, we don't, so sort yourself. And Daddy
Are you
would
the last
say,
born?
No. I'm in the
you
middle.
have the last born tendencies. Yes,
No,
yes.
I'm in the middle, because in the middle, if you don't make yourself hard.
Yeah. Oh, you never. Oh, yes. Yes.
The firstborn was doing everything right. The lastborn does everything right. Now there's this one in the middle.
Completely.
Who is, excuse me. So when Mommy would say, I'm not dealing with this. She has children of her own. She has extended family to look after. And then there is her, and then there is Daddy. She said, I'm not dealing with this one. But Daddy always came back home, fed me, made sure I had my milk, But this poor girl ends up as a refugee in Southern Sudan, where even basic running water from the taps in Kampala are not available. So I didn't have it easy growing up. Yes, I was born in it, but we lost it all. And all of our siblings, parents, my mom, Daddy was arrested, which means it was as grim and beaten to near death.
Yeah.
But I was a refugee in Southern Sudan. So I come back from Southern Sudan as a malnutrited, impoverished little girl back to Kampala. And so the journey begins again. And so I just wanted to correct that. No, I didn't have an affluent background, but yes.
You were born in it, so yes, but losing it along the way is part of the change management.
Yes.
Which I'm lacking right now. And everybody watching the show, that's the part we're looking for. How do you manage that change? The turnaround situation in your life to the refugee camp and now to Santa, who is interacting with the world.
I also, again, I'll go back to my parents and thank them, because for Mommy, she was also in this comfort. And now she's a single mother in Southern Sudan with all these children. By then, I think we were 6. So you know, my mom had to forget that she was a teacher by profession, that she was this wife that had everything that she needed. She now had to dig other people's gardens. So I saw the transformation Mommy went through. So my mom, just like me or my parents, my dad, when he rode in the, you know, UG, Mercedes, sleek black Mercedes Benzes, behaved the same way when later he had to take a bus, a public bus with chickens, fish, whatever, from Moyo to Kampala. He would still be the same father I knew, with the same dignity. And so I watched my parents lose it all, gain it all, lose it all over, but never stop to give and share whatever they had. So just to paint a clear picture, that even when we came back to Kampala, it was struggle again to get up. And then we were all right, we went through school, but then again, let me correct you, I am yet to get a university degree. So before my parents, I still owe them, remember, character, discipline, academics. Yeah, I still have to, you know, and I owe it to them, but also now to myself. To get my papers in order. Although luckily for me, I called a university. I called 2 universities, one in Europe, another in the US, and I said, I am enrolling. I want to do this at a degree level. And they learned through my profile and said, what? Say, you have achieved everything with
exactly,
these students.
That's my point. So why would you be looking for it now?
I've been offered a mastery PhD, so because of my 20 years experience and the things that I've gone through, and so now I may have to forego the much she talked about and demanded bachelorette. And when I finally go back to school, I am going to be rated at the level of mastery that I have earned in this sector. And yes, so I don't want nobody to get discouraged that because they do not have a degree or, you know, the highest standard of learning or schooling, even with a P7 certificate, one can still make it. I went, yes, up to senior 6. I did train as a fashion designer, have a diploma there. But for me to be everything that I am, there's a wealth of expertise and excellence that is not taught in school. It's taught at home. You get educated, very academic in school, but then life experiences, the experiences we go through day to day, give us the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that we need to actually make it in life. So don't think that because you don't have a degree or, you know, that you know, no, a degree is actually nothing if you do not have the required value systems of successful enterprise.
Wow. That already, let's just take a moment to just take in that one, Santa. I think that on a change management, on a scale of 1 to 10, to me, you've already scored 9, if not 10. Because a lot of people don't come out very clearly to talk about this because they fear that there will be stigmatization happening or will come to them. But to see where you are now and what you're talking about now, those two are completely a mismatch. I don't even think you should be thinking of it now anyway.
Well, nobody, let me tell you this, nobody can stigmatize me or look down on me because of a lack of a degree. Because before they can do that, they have to beat me at my game. Across the board, not just design, across the board. And so I am very confident in my abilities and also in the lack of my abilities. I know what I'm lacking and I know what to do to get it. So we have to be very careful not to let nobody talk us down. The Christ we follow as a Christian that I follow, I don't see a master's or a degree anywhere. And yet, for us to get to wherever we want to go. He is the path.
Yeah.
Be it business, be it politics,
Yes.
be it, academia or a religious calling. You've got to go through Christ to get there if you're Christian.
Wow.
And so we are way beyond material attachments.
Yeah.
So I can't be graded in that area. And by the way, I mark university students. I do mark university students.
I don't think that you need anybody to give you a bachelorate for you to be approved, because I think you're way, way beyond the grade itself.
Thank you.
But
also, I must add that this should not be taken to think that, oh, I can make it, I don't have to go to school.
Yes, yes.
I preach to parents that bring their children, because as it is now, you find that the person that wants to be the next Tarapapa is in primary.
Yeah.
With General Katumba Wamala,
yes.
I was privileged to be invited with him to mentor students of Aga Khan. And I'll tell you, I was shocked that kids as young as 7 and they want to be the next Tarapapa.
12, they're already achieving it.
And I'm telling them
Yes.
that, I'm telling parents that bring them to me, no doubt, when I'm ready. However, I want them to go through all the grades of education,
Yeah.
all the levels of education to the highest, if they have the opportunity. I didn't get my bachelor's degree at the time because I chose, against my parents' will, to not go to Makerere University. Daddy would have paid to the last coin of his pension to ensure that Santa gets a degree, but I said, Daddy, it's a West. I want fashion. Yeah, so I'm very happy.
I just want to
he
hear,
listened.
when you told your father, this is what I want to do, Daddy, I want to go into fashion. What was his words? I know your mom, you are two different paths when you talked about that. Fashion, from what I hear, being an academic and being a teacher, I'm sure that was not something that she wanted to hear. But I just want to hear, when you told your daddy or your father that this is not what I want to do, what did he say?
My dad is a man of very few words.
You're just about to help a child who is struggling with the same thing with the father or with the mother. The skill sets are completely designed to this. The gifting God has given are completely this, but the parent is saying this is where you're going.
Yeah.
I once, Santa, even before you answer that, I talked to a 12-year-old girl, and she said, my mom is everything to me. She's good. She always taught us to be who we want to be and everything. And she always tells me that I can do whatever I want to do. But then sometimes I get confused when she tells me that I have to be a doctor. So the young girl told me, so I don't know whether she wants me to do what she wants or she wants me to do what she has taught me to be, which is to be what I want to be. So I'm confused. So it's on that background that I actually asked this question to help that girl, that boy, that child out there who wants to be something else but doesn't know how to communicate with the parent, and how the response from the parent borrowing from you will help them to change and to make the right footing to the next step.
Again, it starts on your knees. Talk to God about your desires. I want to, at this point, thank so much one of my godfathers, or actually my godfather, Dr. James Magara, for and everything good that I am. May he get the blessings, and for any mistake I've made, please exclude him, because
Yes.
that has been on my own account.
Yeah.
If I was to follow the path,
Yeah.
I would be a much better person. But
Yeah.
let me simply say that he told me to talk to God. Just tell God what it is you want,
Mm-hmm.
and if it is within his purposes for you, you will be it.
Yeah.
So to that young girl and young boy, talk to God. Humble up. And don't fear, don't get also religious and, first go, clean up, what? Just get in a corner. Like Christ says, close yourself in a closet. Pull yourself away from the crowd And that crowd can be your lovely mama,
Yeah.
it could be your daddy, but your best friend. Pull away from them. Go into the closet. Tell God what it is you want in your heart. I did that amidst my chaotic life of a teenager. I did that. And I can tell you that Daddy in heaven, God listened. Because at that time, I was making this decision. God had nicely moved out my mom out of the equation in Kampala.
Yes.
Took her back to the village where she was so thrilled
Yeah.
to take up more children,
Yes.
younger than Santa, and
Yeah.
groom them, to grow her orchard,
Forgotten about Santa.
She did forget about me. Her
Forgotten
ears
you
were on the
yes,
ground.
Yes.
But,
What is she doing?
but I thank God
Yeah, yeah.
that my mom was not in Kampala, because I'm telling you that she went on national TV, on NTV, to
Yeah.
apologize.
Yes.
And to advise parents.
Yeah.
I think about a few years ago,
Yeah.
she was called and she had to go and apologize and say, I am sorry. But if mom had been in Kampala, I'm telling you, she would have beaten me. Would have beaten this out of me.
Wow.
You had to be undisciplined for her. Don't forget, she also had a bit of her upbringing in the convent. She's very organized and very, even now when you go home, you find her in a very ironed, beautiful top and dressed well, tucked in. She's very orderly and lives by the norm. Now, that happened. Mommy was taken out of the equation, even Daddy. But when I told Daddy what I wanted to do, he also wasn't here. But his reaction was, he said, okay. But he was like,
Yes.
Santa is impossible to
Be
die,
successful.
to divert.
Yes.
Once her mind is set onto something.
Yes.
But I believe when he went quiet, he was talking to God as well, like, help my little girl. And so I then had to get a job with a little pocket money he had left me. It ran out, I had to find a job. And then I had to find my way in fashion college, which, by the way, even then was not even available in Kampala.
Yeah.
But there was Dolphin Fashion College, so I was led there. But let me simply say that you've got to be, I've said it so many times, but you've got to be a positive big head. The parents, Mommy was doing that not because she didn't want me to pursue my goals, but she did it to protect me. To protect me, she wants the best. Every parent wants the best for their child. But you, the child, the onus is on you to prove to your parent that you're actually going to put your very best foot forward and try, as you may fail, to be a success story, whatever success would mean. Money, achievements. For me, it wasn't money, because also that wasn't told to me as a child. I'm just learning now that money is a good thing, and I should love money.
But it's not everything.
But, oh no, money is very important. Now, that will be another topic. But I'm having to unlearn the very Catholic background I came from, to unlearn the teachings about wealth and money.
Okay.
Let me tell you, money is very important, and every child should know without money, certain things can't happen. Dreams are gagged and stagnated, so money is very important. So I won't sit here and talk that talk of money is not. I've learned a lot at this level of maturity. I can assure you that every African parent must buy their little child that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Let's start there. Let's learn to talk wealth. Let us learn to talk money in a very positive way.
Okay.
And hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
But let me quickly touch on to something you asked earlier when you started this line of questions. You asked where the group I started with are, and if they moved together with me.
Yes, and how did you manage that change?
Eddie, I've been in the wilderness so many times. And no, that group is not with me today. Some of them are my friends. Some of them we parted ways, not in a bad way, but you know, career paths, interests, and all changed. But let me simply say that in the workings of Uganda International Fashion Week, Arapapa and Santanzo as a person, no. There'll probably be one or two people that we are still in touch with as friends and all, but as business, no. And I don't blame them. We were very young, and each one followed the path that they were meant to follow, and I stayed the course on mine. But that wasn't the first and last time I found myself in a wilderness with only water. I've been through that maybe 5 times. My business is making 20 years. Let me tell you, every 5 years have come with their own set of trials and tribulations, to the extent that sometimes the only thing I would be left with would be the brand Arapapa and the brand Uganda International Fashion Week, and the brand, thank God, that is held in very high esteem in this country and beyond, Santa Anzo. Sometimes I've lost it all, over and over again. But again, I'm very grateful to God that at every stage of Arapapa, He's brought me the perfect people for me to steer the ship with. And I remain very humbled and very grateful for that.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, the CEO bench is really having a great moment. I would like to say thank you, God, for the lockdown. I think if we had not gone into a lockdown, we would not have come back with this kind of interview and this kind of stories. Santa, I'm really thrilled with the story of change management, you know, from that group. But just quickly, just before we wind up the interview, as you take a sip of your coffee, I just want to say, how were you able to communicate the change? At what point did you realize that, guys, as a group, this is where I want to go, the vision has shifted, this is where I want to go? And how was it taken in? Because most times when we are communicating change management, managing the process of change management is not something that is easy. It leads us to either a fight, it leads us to enmity, it leads us to, you know, envy when a person becomes successful. It's not an easy step. And even those who are leaving their jobs don't know how to manage the process. Tony Otoa was here and says, don't burn the bridges, don't burn the place where you're going, don't uproot the sweet potatoes with everything and leave and go, because, or the pumpkin, you will have to come back. And he recounted and said, for every job I have left in the process of managing change, I have come back and now I'm a consultant in them, which means that he was doing something good. But not everybody finds it easy. And I'm sure there's somebody, of course, out there watching this program right now who is also going to struggle with that or is struggling with that already. How do you, your story, how do you help them to overcome by just learning from that small bit of communicating how, guys, this is it, I'm moving here, and everybody starts to move?
Okay. I also find myself, unlike Tony Otoa,
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yes.
Is that the guy of
Tony
Stanbic?
Okao Otoa,
Tony
yes.
Okao Otoa.
Otoa, yes.
That's the guy of Stanbic
Yes,
Business?
Stanbic Business Incubator Limited.
Oh boy, I have
He's
a
the
lot
new
of
CEO.
admiration. I have a lot of admiration.
Yes.
And I just want to
And I'm
thank
sure he's
him.
watching the show, or he's going to touch it at some point.
I just want to thank him. I had him on radio.
Yeah.
I'm yet to watch this show
Yeah,
you
yes.
did with him. But I just want to thank him that
Yeah.
the powerful voice
Yeah.
that I had on radio,
Yeah.
you know, just reverberated all over. And I know that we have some great minds,
Yeah.
beautiful minds in this country,
Yeah.
such as his. My sector is very different from his. My sector
This is the fashion sector.
fashion and clothing,
Yeah.
and also modeling.
Yeah.
Our sector is very unique in that it's very informal. We are not mostly white collar. There are very few white collars in this sector, at least in Uganda,
Yeah.
and also in several parts of the developing world.
Yeah.
This sector has very white-collar people in places such as Europe, in the USA, and Australia, and probably Japan. It pains me, but it pains me because then it's harder to have a shared comprehensive vision.
Yeah.
When you've been schooled differently.
Yeah.
We have, as I said before, different parents, different value systems. People are taught to, you'll find a parent who teach their child, always grow up your colleagues and friends. You find a parent who say, no, tear them down, you should be the best. A combination of so many factors make it very hard for things to happen normally in a sector such as ours. It's a vocation. Hand skill driven as well, and that comes with a set of challenges. We are incredible individuals in this sector of fashion and clothing. We are very brilliant in talent. We are very progressive in talent. We are gifted in talent. We are passionate to the point that we don't care who supports us, who doesn't. The government may not, but we are artists. We are creatives. We're going to break through. But for us as individuals, that alone can get us to succeed. But if we are going to be a sector, a formidable sector, a sector to reckon with, it doesn't take one individual. It takes everybody putting their best foot forward. And to do that, the school I went to as a primary Bat Valley, our motto is knowledge is power. And indeed, knowledge is power. Academics, education, enlightenment opens out our minds to not be afraid of the next talented person, but to actually learn to cooperate as competitors, where I embrace the term competition. You actually opt to compete together in a progressive, flourishing environment. It is very difficult to do that unless it begins with a mindset change. And so for me, when I'm mentoring, I tell my mentees that, their parents, that I'm not, when you come to me as a fashion designer, I'm not in the business of selling clothes per se. I'm in a business of mindset change. Because for as long as our minds are impoverished, thinking me and me and me alone, there is no growth. You want to pull another down, you are very sure going to keep down. And so I've learned, if someone needs to move on, I've learned to nicely allow them to exit. I may have a contract with you, and I have a contract with so many people. Even the models I represented, when they chose to go to the next greener pasture, or what they perceived as greener, and I had a contract with them, I would tell their managers, let them go. Because you see, I don't want to have a hold on to anyone's. I do not want, I'm not in this to fail anyone. I'm in this to be a channel for good. And so if the time has come for you to exit from me, I don't want a contract to keep you with me. I want you to go. And I bless you. And so the people that I started with, we can still call each other if there is need. But like I say, some have become have joined the food business. Some are married and growing, young families. Some are, some are all over, some are now employed. Santa is self-employed or, is a business executive. You find that the conversations are
Different.
yeah, but we are able to pick up the phone call and encourage each other, and but then I think that for me the most important thing is to ensure that I am not a roadblock to anyone, but I also make sure that nobody's a roadblock to me. I've got to be selfish in two ways. Selfish in that if you're selfish enough to protect yourself, I should also be selfish enough to protect myself. And I encourage that on both sides. But I also realize that we are meant to probably be in relationships for different reasons at different times. And so when that time is over, I let God, and I let go actually, and I let God. And so, it's then a beautiful progress on all accounts, theirs and mine. But yes, when I started Fashion Week, the biggest threat to me, there were two big threats, but I'll focus on Fashion Week because that's what you asked.
Yeah.
Fashion Week in 2008 was when I faced the biggest challenge. My staff, my team came to me and they said, Santa, we've done a survey and we are unhappy. This Fashion Week is our corporate social responsibility. See, even when our tickets sell out, we don't make money as a Rapapa. So it's not a business venture. It's really I'm also a social entrepreneur at heart. I've learned through my decisions and beings that I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm not a hard-nosed capitalist. I'm going after the kill. No. I'm a social entrepreneur, meaning that I've grown myself and I'm growing myself. But my father always taught me, my parents actually, never forget your neighbor. Meaning never forget the person next to you. Never forget your teammate if you're in a football. Move with them. So that is who I am. And so there's no loss for me. Whether my bank account is that high or this high, I'll operate at the same level. But because of that, sometimes I get into problems. Now, this time I got into problems with my employees. My team of Fashion Week, remember 2008 was we started Fashion Week in 2003, so that's the fifth, right?
That's the fifth, yes.
It was the biggest challenge. And they say to me, Santa, we will tell you point blank, if you do Uganda International Fashion Week again, we are leaving you. You are on your own. And they gave me the reasons. They say this is a very ungrateful people, a very ungrateful sector. Said, Santa, we don't make money for us at Fashion Week. We actually promote our competition. We create and promote our competition. Do you realize that?
Yes.
Because Uganda International Fashion Week is a platform to develop, promote, for everyone. Such things are done by the government. One of our event managers at that time, he looked at me and said, Santa, are you the government? So now my staff, these talks had infiltrated my staff. So some said she's a spy. What is she doing? Did you know So, is she looking for political office? And unknown to everybody, my dad came with a message from his constituency. Remember, he was a very successful politician. So they said, you support people who can't even express themselves. Why don't you bring us Santa? And he said, Santa, that people have asked for you. And I said, no. And he said, Santa said, no, I didn't press. Because when she says no, she is
Meant to
firm.
know, yeah.
I don't want that route.
Yeah.
I believe that I can still be a change maker without being a politician.
Yeah.
And so they said, nobody says thank you to us. We have launched almost all the fashion brands in this country. People don't come back to say thank you. Instead, we're being pulled down and we are not earning. This is a corporate social responsibility. And so we said,
Yeah.
if you were giving Arapapa the same focus that you give Uganda International Fashion Week, we would be self-reliant. We wouldn't be renting, we would be having a huge building of our own in the middle of this city.
Yeah.
Santa Arapapa is big, quit Fashion Week. So they told me, you have all the time to make up your mind. Should you make your time to launch edition
2018,
5,
yeah.
which was 28,
Yeah.
2008,
yes.
buy. I launched it. Not to hurt them, but because
Yes, yes.
this is me.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to bed without Fashion Week. I needed it. It was the fuel driving me. So I launched it. And I lost the most beautiful team that I ever had of Uganda International Fashion Week from 2003 to 2008. You know yourselves.
Yes.
I won't say them on air, but after here, I think I'm going to call them and thank them. But they actually left.
Yeah.
And I hold nothing against them because their call, they had given to me to the limit,
Yeah.
to the best of their abilities. And that was it. They had to go and find more financially rewarding opportunities.
Yes.
Because for me, I still in this one, you know, and so hey, Salavi, I don't hold nothing against them. I actually appreciate them very well, but I had to learn then to train a new team in a very limited time.
Wow.
And host Uganda International Fashion in 2008. And I'm very proud to say that as I speak now, the lockdown, of course, last year we could not host Fashion Week, but you people, Ugandans in the diaspora, Ugandans in Kampala, rated us world class. And let me tell you something, that is my goal, excellence. I have had people tell me, people in very high offices, very rich business people in this town tell me, no, this is Uganda. Well, I don't operate. Because you know when they say this is Uganda, you're supposed to be mediocre, wishy-wishy.
Why are you doing this? Just let's say it be
shabby. No. Uganda for me means excellence, the very best of who I am.
Yes.
And so when I arrive, even in South Africa, wherever I go, Bangkok, USA, they'll say, Uganda has arrived. Because they know I'm going to put my best foot forward, and if anybody is going to make it to New York Times, if anybody is going to get to fashion TV in Milan, New York, wherever, believe you me, it's going to be Arapapa made in Uganda. And so I'm very proud of the wilderness, the journey that I have walked alone.
Wow.
Because each time God has given me the best team to work with.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, like they say, every good thing must come to an end. Santa, what a beautiful story of transformation that you have right there that you've shared with us. Of course, today, I don't know whether I should even read some of your comments, but I want to read, Santa, a few of the questions that have come just as we wind up, and so I'll give you opportunity in a couple of minutes to respond to. Number one, a story that comes from a question that came much earlier. Eddie Okila, thank you very much for the CEO bench. We were really concerned about the CEO bench. You went quiet, silent, and nobody was saying anything, but thank you. First of all, my question to Santa and Zoe is one. Santa, where do we see you and the excellent and beautiful things you're doing in the next 10, 15 years?
Arapapa is a global made in Uganda outfit. And that is where it's going to be in the next 10, 15 years. We are a global entity. Precisely.
Wow. And I have the next question. What a very interesting answer right there. I have the next question here. Eddie, thank you very much for the show. I've always loved and worn Santa. Now, in Uganda, you don't, when you're on the runway or you go for event, you never hear Ugandans saying, I'm wearing Santa Zo, I'm wearing so-and-so, I'm wearing Chaligonza. Can you ask Santa, she talked about mindset change. How is she planning on changing on the mindset of Ugandans to start being proud of who they were?
First of all, before we start pushing it down the throat of Ugandans, oh, be proud of Uganda, where Uganda?
Build
Uganda has to set a standard. For us as Arapapa, we set a standard. When Uganda had not accepted us, you know, in 2001 when we launched out, we did not launch saying, proclaim us and wear us. No, we excelled in our art. And what happened was, Uganda was left no choice, because here was a brand that CNN was featuring. Here was a brand that got South Africa Broadcasting Corporation, SABC 1, SABC 2, and SABC 3 all into the country to cover this beautiful butterfly story made in Uganda. I was personally in Dubai, sitting in the, you know, public lobby. No, actually it was in the duty-free area. You know, just probably taking a coffee and something. And I saw 7 white men, all suited and carrying my Arapapa paper bag. And actually a Ugandan woman, I did not know that was Ugandan, ran to it. A Hajat said, Santa, look. Silly me. Yeah. I couldn't even find my camera. I couldn't do nothing. Yes. I was in awe, and they were late for their flight. They left, but they walked through, and everybody was like, who are these guys and who is Arapapa? And so before we can demand for Ugandans to wear us, we have to walk the talk. We have to be excellent enough. Ugandans like fine things in life. Yeah. We may be an LDC country, we may be a developing country, but we like the finer things in life. A Ugandan is going to wear, you're wearing polo right now. Yeah. Believe you me, if I had a beautiful Arapapa shirt, Arapapa, you'd wear it.
I'm been looking for it, Santa. I've been asking people to.
Well, I should have come with one.
No one has been able to. They said I'm very complicated because 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I changed my dressing. So everything I wear is bespoke. And I've been telling Ugandans, we can do this here.
May we please? Gladly. I'll take that as a yes.
Yes. So I am looking forward to somebody who can actually dress us on the, you know, on the CEO bench and on the, you know, creative industry talk that we have every Tuesday. Santa, thank you so much for giving us this moment to come onto the show. And my last question to you, Santa, what would you leave with a person who is watching this show? And what would you say to those who nominated you and overwhelmingly voted you to come back, to come to the CEO bench for the first time? Our time is fast spent, but I want you to just leave a message with them. And what would you say to every Ugandan who is watching the show right now? Far, wide, near, and close.
Okay. So first of all, I think I'll say that.
And I want you to look into the camera there.
So for those of you that actually nominated and voted for me, I am deeply honored. I'm actually deeply humbled at the same time. So thank you from the depth of my heart. And, you know, my word to all Ugandans, everywhere I pass today, we are pulling each other down. We are unhappy with the government. We are, so many things have gone wrong, probably are wrong. And I won't deny you that opportunity to vent. But for me, I believe in the saying, which is also in the Bible. Yeah. Complaints bring about more things to complain about. When you're grateful, gratitude also brings about more opportunities to be grateful for. And I'm not saying everything is good. I'm simply saying, for me as Santa, I pick out those things that make me happy. What is the best thing that has happened to Uganda right now? Find it and say thank you. And believe you me, with a grateful heart, the next beautiful venture will unfold. I know times are hard. I have faced it in my sector. We are the hardest hit sector with COVID-19. And even the government has not listed us amongst those that are to be
For the
supported.
100,000 of the Prime
Whatever
Minister.
it is,
Yes.
you know, we, my tellers haven't received it. We have not been listed as a sector. But remember, this is the biggest employer in sub-Saharan Africa. We are not in the government plan. But I will still say that as Eddie Okila gave me a script to enlighten and share about transformation, you yourself should be a force for positive transformation of first yourself and your country. God bless you.
Wow. Fanta, thank you so much for accepting to come on the show today. And thank you for those very beautiful words that you've given us, words of wisdom. The program exists to inspire, encourage, and transform. And we'd like to say thank you because this morning you have inspired, or this afternoon, this night, depending on which part of the world they are, you've inspired, you have encouraged, and you have transformed their lives. For that, we want to say thank you, and we want to say until the next time, the CEO Bench would want to say thank you. Vote if you think that Santa Azo should come back for the second part of this interview. Waiting for your vote, and of course, there's that part we didn't finish with Santa about the other part she talked about. We can't start the money and the understanding of money. But the CEO Bench has come to a close today. Until next week, stay grounded and stay safe. This is the CEO Bench. Eddie Okila, Santa Azo, signing out. Please visit Arapapa, and buy yourself a piece of a beautifully made outfit from Uganda.
Thank
If
you.
I don't see you on the streets of Kampala with Arapapa, you're not going to look like those 3 white men with a small bag. showing
7.
up. 7 of them. Until next week, God bless you and stay focused.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Ateng Emmanuel. This is the show where we get to talk about basketball in Uganda and whatever's happening in the basketball scene. Now, basketball in Uganda has been off for a while due to the COVID pandemic and due to lockdown, so games haven't been happening. Players haven't been getting on court to work out, and these are some of the issues that have been affecting us as the basketball fraternity, and these are some of the things that we need to talk about. With me in the studio today is Mr. John Omondi, aka Mapesa John, and would like to find out, first of all, where did the Mapesa name come from?
Thank you. I'm John, and as Eti has just mentioned, Mapesa is an AK name. Where I come from, it is money. It means money, but here I don't know what it means, but that's all I know. It means money. I think when you look at me, people think that I have
that you have money. So you're
Unfortunately.
the people who got a double portion of the money that was supposed to come from the government.
That money is just as much as you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
I am also waiting for it. I hope they'll realize that I didn't get it and they'll splash some to me, but inshallah.
Yeah, well, hopefully that money comes. John, again, you're very welcome to the show. This is a show where we get to talk about everything that is about basketball in the Ugandan fraternity. And I know that you've been a part of basketball for a very long time, okay? There are some people who know you as Coach John. There are some people who know you as a player back in the days. There's a nickname we used to call you, which was Chuma cha Railway during your playing days. To start the show, we just want you to walk us through your basketball journey, where you started from, and where did you transition from a player into a coach?
Wow, that's a long one. You've taken me back.
Way back
Way
into time.
back. Well, I would say that I came to play basketball for Chitante. It was during my high school day.
Yeah.
Those days, qualifying for nationals was very difficult. So our job was to make sure that the school reaches finals, actually. So our first year in senior 4, I would say, we managed to get somewhere. We reached the finals. Our second year, we took the championship. But after that, you must realize that every good player or every good coach should come from specific teams. Like us, who are lucky to be in Rhinos. Rhinos has brought up so many people. During my high school days, it was Coach Manje Gironi. He just finished his high school the previous year, so he was my first coach in Uganda. So after that, we had to find ourselves in Rhinos, and as you know, Rhinos has brought up so many teams, so many players. So I played for Rhinos. After Rhinos, actually I didn't stop playing for Rhinos. I'm still a Rhino. And that's when I started coaching Rhinos. I started coaching Rhinos as Amazon. Amazon is one of the clubs for Rhinos Athletics Club.
Yeah.
So it was a hot soup. I started coaching when I was still a player. So it is actually what built me, built who I am.
Yeah.
So it was a hot soup. I was coaching in the league when I was very young, and we grew up together. Then I was also playing for Rhinos. Playing for Rhinos, Rhinos used to give so much.
Yeah.
You realize that they taught a lot. They had very experienced players and experienced coaches. Some of them are in the US. So they brought us. They took us in, they brought us and made us who we are. Yeah. The second time I got the biggest coaching job was when Charging Rhinos was relegated.
Yeah.
I was a player for Charging Rhinos, but when we were relegated, you know what happens when teams are relegated.
Yeah.
People will start moving. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be a coach player. So that's how coach playing began. It was tough.
Yeah.
I tried to coach play. When you're coach playing, you want to call all the shots. You can't serve two masters. So at a certain time, I had to drop playing. I said, you know what? Let me concentrate on coaching.
Yeah.
So the first year, things didn't go so well. The second year, we managed to hit, we hit the champion. Actually, we reached finals.
Yeah.
And we were promoted again back to NBL.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. It started with the Rhinos. I must thank Rhinos for making me who I am. But again, I've coached a number of young teams. As you're growing, you start low. I think Rhinos was the biggest team I coached when I was still growing as a coach. But I used to coach these young kids like international schools. I did ISU, I did a number of schools, Kawempe Muslim, Bugema. I coached so many teams that if I start talking about it, it's a big trend. It's a very, very big trend.
Well, that's a very interesting journey, knowing that you started from Kitante, which is actually just down the road from here. I remember way back in the day, Kitante, Hill School, Kavoja, those were really the biggest schools at the time, you know, and I think qualifying for the nationals at that time was a very hard thing, and also getting to the finals was really hard because there was a lot of actually competition during that time. And I remember your team had a couple of players who are actually also coaches now. Yeah, could you just take us back to what was that group like? There was you, John Mapesa. Who were the other players on the team, and are they still playing right now? Are they coaching? What has happened to their lives in basketball?
Well, like when I was joining Chitante, we were 3 musketeers. I had Hamza, who coached a couple of teams. He coached A1. He also coached Amazon some time back. Yeah. He coached KIU. I also had Jeff Omondi. He actually played for UCU at a certain time. Then he found himself at CTOL, yeah. But he coached, I think, A1. Yeah. Then Eric is the only guy who left. So we were around 4-5 guys who were in Chitante. Our job was to actually, Geoff came on the 2nd year when we were almost finishing. But even all of them found themselves in Rhinos. So we played together, and I think when we were done with high school, people parted ways. Some of us went to university, some of us relocated back to Kenya. But you realize that all of them are coaches. Yeah. Hamza was a good coach. Geoff is still coaching. Actually, myself, I'm coaching. And you must realize that even Mandy Jironi is a product of Chitante, a product of Rhinos. Yeah. People like Stephen Omoni, those are products of Chitante and Rhinos. So it's being a journey. Yeah. And technically, I'm saying that most coaches we have in Uganda, you realize that almost 80% have a background of Rhinos in it. Yeah. Yeah, good players, Chitante and Rhinos. So Chitante is a school that you could have thought that they had an attachment with Rhinos somehow, because from there you are finding yourself in Rhinos. So yeah. I think it was a good umbrella that brought us up, and we're proud of it. We are proud to be still coaching. I know, you know, in Uganda here, there's so many coaches. I think our database has over 63. But you'd find that active coaches might be something like 20.
Very few.
Yeah, so that's another problem that I think
that's a discussion for another day.
Another discussion for another day.
Yeah, well, just speaking from there, we actually want to pick the discussion from there. You know, today we're talking about basketball at the grassroots, okay? So that includes basketball when it comes to the kids, basketball in high schools and also in university before they really transition out into the NBL. So you playing back in the day, okay, we had all these tournaments. I think the whole year was filled with, there was at least 3 tournaments for every term, okay? And fast forward it into the present, we have very few tournaments that are happening, okay? So just take us through what was basketball like back in the day, high school basketball, compared to high school basketball now. Has it become better? Has it become worse? You know, according to your view, what has happened in high school basketball?
Well, that's another good question. Now, back in the days, you know, Uganda did a lot of import. Yeah. They imported very many foreigners. So actually, Ugandan basketball was filled with foreigners. And you know, foreigners, they come with some kind of momentum that is a little bit at high peak. Yeah. So I would say that the pool when it comes to basketball in back day, the pool was small. The competition level was so high. Yeah. But again, the number of schools were few. And the competition level was also high because we call, actually nowadays they call them machineries. Yeah. The number of machineries that were in the land was a little bit too many. And their competition level was high. Yeah. And that's why you find that the fan base was also very high. so many people always wanted to see what's happening. So whether basketball is in the western region or eastern, people would go to watch. And again, you'd find that the teams that were doing well were specific. Chitante was lucky to be doing well as a day school, but the higher percentage of schools that were doing well then were boarding school, the likes of Chibuli, Kabogia, Naja, Manjas. So Chitante was one of the only high school that was a day school that was doing well, because I think maybe it had some good input to make things happen. Like our days, I remember we were, as much as we had 3 good guys, actually 4 to 5 good guys, Kabogia was our biggest problem. Kabogia had it.
Yeah.
And the likes of, some of them, the likes of Ivan Enabu, Ken Balejusa, Alan Tauda. Those, Ivan could be a problem. Yeah. He's one of the guys who gave us serious problem in our days.
Yeah.
And you saw even during the league time, he was still doing a good job. So I would say that the manpower then was different, and it was mainly packed with a huge number of foreign input.
Yeah.
But you see now, it has kind of changed. And actually, some of the structures that were running basketball then were different. We had Nasiba. It had to bring a foreign cup, which kind of neutralized some of the foreign input that was going around.
Yeah.
And that reduced the number of foreigners
Yeah.
running in the Ugandan basketball. So you find that now, when that transition changed from foreign to limitation, now Ugandans got some time to play,
Yeah.
which was a good thing. It was a very good thing, and I wish they didn't stop. You see now, you find that the schools that are doing well, they are private schools, and that means that they invest. You see, government school, their investment limit is to a specific level.
Yeah.
But now private school, they have a good budget. Most of them have a good budget, and they are able to bring in any good talent.
Yeah.
And they are also able to fish any talent from anywhere within the country.
Yeah, well, I like how you've actually brought in the aspect of traditional schools versus the international schools, okay? And we'll be going into more of this after the break, because I believe that this is going to make for a very interesting conversation, yeah? After the break, we'll be back with more on Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. Mr. John Mapesa Omondi will be telling us more on his perspectives on grassroots basketball. Don't go anywhere. This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation, because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials.
Yeah.
And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
Prince
Welcome back to Slam Dunk Basketball Talk on House of Talent Television. Remember, you can catch us live on our social media handles or at our House of Talent Television on Facebook and on Twitter. And you can also catch us on YouTube at House of Talent Television live. This is the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. And we've been talking basketball with Mr. John Mapesa Omondi in the studio. And before we went for the break, we had brought in the aspect of the traditional schools versus the modern schools. Back in the day, we had schools like Kitante, Kaboja, Chivuli, Manjas in the east, and these were basically the powerhouses way back then, okay? And now we have a shift, okay, where now the schools that are actually on top is one of the schools that you coach. Yeah, I think that is the school that is on top now. You have other schools like Crane High and all these schools. So the dynamics shifted from traditional schools and it has come into these modern schools, okay? And I think it also shifted from trying to, you know, make a name for yourself, and it has shifted into what would say is more monetary. It's more marketing now, okay? So how has the marketing factor, okay, affected this shift in basketball? Because now, for you to be known, you have to have a marketing factor, and basketball has become one of those, okay? So how has marketing influenced the change in basketball from way back then and today in these modern times?
Well, it is obvious that any school would want to be seen out there.
Yeah.
And the only avenue for, actually one of the best avenue for some of these, for example, private schools, not that government schools have not, cannot be, they also have a budget. I'm sure every entity, be it government or private, they have a budget.
Yeah.
And now the priorities, I think, is what makes a difference.
Yeah.
You'd find that, because Chibuli is another school that has a very good budget for sports. And I'm sure that when you talk about my school, Budo,
Yeah.
Budo has a good budget for
Yeah.
sport, and they dictate the budget that they can use within a period of time.
Yeah.
So schools who are very sharp realize that sports is one of the best avenue to reach a big number of clientele. And you realize that at times they come with very big buses. Have you ever figured out why? You'd find that you have only one team of basketball, but you have a
Buses,
huge bus.
yeah.
When you look inside, nothing.
Like 12 people
You know,
in the bus.
12 guys with some 3 guys who are supporting. So when you park your bus in a specific place, a student will look at it and like, man, these guys, there's something about it. There's something about it that will drive you. And by good or bad luck, if you manage to go, for example, for a friendly in that school, you might want to stay. And then you'll start disturbing your parents that, man, I want that school.
Yeah.
So it is a marketing strategy that schools have realized they can use. Not that it is the only marketing strategy, but it is a good marketing strategy. It has opened up so many schools.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that before then, because Chibuli has been one of my #1 competitors. I think I started winning games like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
because I was always fighting with Chibuli,
Oh.
you know. So you wouldn't say that it has, maybe Buddha has taken over,
Yeah.
because Chibuli is not having the cash muscle.
Ah.
They do, but we grew up.
Yeah.
Maybe those days we were small, but now we are powerhouse, and I think people will have to accept that there's evolution. And if Buddha is doing it, I think they have done a good job. We've done a good job
Yeah.
over the years. We've given Uganda the first East Africa Championship. The boys had never won an East African Championship
yeah.
before. And the girls have given Uganda back to back.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I mean, at times I feel like when maybe when we are competing locally at the maybe qualifier level, it might be a little bit personal. Well, school muscle.
Yeah.
But when it goes beyond nationals, now then the representation changes. It's Uganda. So it doesn't matter who
is playing,
who is winning. At the end of the day, it is Uganda that has won that championship, and that's how it is. But I think no one should lie to you that other schools don't have budgets. Every government entity must have a sports budget.
Yeah.
It is the priority that they give to sports.
Yeah.
I think that's what differs.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Most government schools now think they want to focus more on books, and the budget that is there for sports actually is siphoned into other things, but I guess that's a discussion for another day. Now, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room here, okay? Johnny is the coach of Budo. You've had a lot of success with the Budo team, okay, winning the East African Championship. And in the basketball circles, okay, just like your story with Kitante, you came in from Kenya to play for Kitante because they wanted to move to a certain level, okay? Fast forward to the present time, now you're coach of Budo, and I think you're faced with the same situation as you were in Kitante, but this time you're on the coaching side, okay? And the school has told you, Johnny, this is the budget, and this is where we want you to be, yeah? And you have been blamed for using a lot of foreign players, okay? It's John who gets players from Sudan. His first 5 are more than 5 feet high. How are we going to compete, with them? And this has been a complaint from actually very many schools and very many coaches. And some even say that the cap on foreign players, okay, in high school was brought because of your initiatives to actually try and win in high school basketball. What is your comment on this?
That's a tough one, but I'll give my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Now, it's an open market.
Yeah.
And I don't think any school has been limited on where to get players. These are our clans. Budo is a private entity. It can get students from anywhere within the world, if not East Africa.
Yeah.
So, a coach, my job is to look at the dynamics of the competition, look at the rules that govern the competition, and act as per the rules that govern the competition. And I'm sure if I'm not the only one who picks players from outside the country. Yeah. And this is within East Africa. My players are within East Africa. I've never got players from America to come and play for me. These are students, and they're genuinely from within East Africa.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as much as Budo has students from Sudan or whichever, or Kenya or wherever, or Tanzania, other schools also do have.
Yeah.
So the thing, their question should be the success. You can get players from all over, but are they still gonna give you the results you're looking for? So they should be crying that how come Johnny knows how to recruit and manages to do well with the players he recruits? Because when you go to other schools, Chibuli has foreigners. They have so many players from. Those are my direct competitors. When you go to Wakiso, you'll find that actually there's a school in Wakiso that has 99% foreigners. Yeah. So the question is, why haven't they
manage to do well with the input that I'm making. Because you'd find that maybe Budo, as a school, it has defined structures.
Yeah.
You know, we have to respect why entities do well. So I have a very good structure from the top, from my director all the way to the water boy.
Yeah.
You know, we have a good structure
Yeah.
and we have a good support staff that enable us achieve our goal. When you go to that school, you find that I have everything. I have the courts, I have the balls. My job is to impart skills.
Yeah.
So if I do a good job with that, I think they should ask themselves, can we learn what is he doing that we are not doing?
We're not doing,
You know?
yeah.
But if they say that he's bringing in, but somebody would look at it like he's bringing what you've brought in. So, so that means that the market was open market and the playing ground was level. So why don't you bring in what he's bringing in? Or why don't you do what he's doing?
Yeah.
So I think maybe their approach is just the wrong approach. They should be fighting to know or to, we can, me, I'm open. If you want to learn what I do, I'll be glad to share with you. So you should ask me, what are you doing that is making you do well? Because now if they say down here, so how about up there? If I'm doing well up there, would you say that now is up there, is he bringing the same people?
Yeah.
He's using the same people within Uganda to make ends meet. So if you blame me down here, then you're gonna blame me up there.
Yeah.
Because if you see up there, I think I have the youngest,
Yeah.
the youngest team in the field. So they need to change their approach.
Yeah, so that brings in actually a very good question. So what are you doing right that they are not doing? Since it's an open market and now we're in a place where you're like a consultant now. Okay, what are you doing right that other schools are not doing, given the same playing field?
I don't know who's gonna pay for this consultation. But well, you know, coaching is the only place that you learn from each other.
Yeah.
Now, as I told you, I have a very good support structure. I have all the facilities I need to execute my job, and I'm not complaining about the financial bit, which is a very important part of making ends meet.
Yeah,
you know,
true.
finance is one of the reasons why basketball is crumbling, even at the top level. So, what you know, we've learned our coaching. We've learned from different avenues. FUBA has done a good job to give so many courses for coaches. But again, we have so many avenues to research.
Yeah.
And me, what I do, one of the things coaches make a mistake with, they copy and paste. So when you copy and paste, you're copying somebody's strength, but you're forgetting that there's weakness. So if I copy your strength, then I bring to myself, then I'll be improving on the weakness. Because what you do that works for you might not work for me. So what I do, I look at what you do. I ask myself why you do it. I look at the reason why you do what you do.
Yeah.
Then I just pick what I think is good enough for me, given the manpower I have. Then I blend it in.
Yeah.
You get it? So I don't copy and paste. I copy what you do and I synchronize with what I know.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest difference that I kind of ride on.
Yeah.
And then my philosophy. You know, I've looked around Uganda, the kind of basketball people play. I would say 70% of what I do is defensive. I work so hard defensively. I give 30% to offense.
Yeah.
Or I would give 20% to offense, which has worked, but no, it's not a good thing. You know, you need to balance
it. Yeah.
You get it? So I look at my manpower, then I balance the percentage I want to give in training. So I give a lot of time on defense. I give average time on offense because I want players to express themselves.
Yeah.
You know, coaches also don't realize that if you limit players to do things your way,
it's going to choke them.
Yeah.
They're not going to express themselves.
That's true.
So if I stick to telling you that this is how I want you to play defense, that is me. So I need to give you some allowance on offense.
Yeah.
So that you express what makes you a basketballer. And it has worked for me.
Yeah.
At times people say that most of my game is transition. And if you look at it, even in the higher leagues, I take you for a run. But why do I do that? Because I know I have young players who are energetic. What they do is study and play. So they don't have anything stressing them.
Yeah.
I know they can run, and everything they do is intense. So when I come to you and I find that you have a weakness, I have to know your weakness. I have to look at the weakness of my opponent. I know that most teams in this championship, actually even in high school basketball, you'd find that 3/4 just pick the players, they go make some layups and play games. So I realized that they have a weakness with giving the right techniques to players. What do? I say that, okay, they don't work so hard on this thing. I want to work so hard on it that they will choke when they want to meet me. They have to choke. So that's how I've been riding. I've done that for over 12 years, and it has not failed me. And it's a secret. So technically,
well, the secret is now out. And if you're a coach and you're watching the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk, get down to our comment section on our Twitter, on our Facebook. Let us know what your coaching philosophy is like. If you have any questions for Mr. John Omondi, you can post them down there. Also, we'll be reading them later. But I will take a quick break right now, and we'll be back with more on Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Slam Dunk Basketball Talk. My name is Atengi Manuel, and remember, this is House of Talent Television, where you can catch us live on our YouTube channel or go down to Facebook and Twitter, where you can also catch us live and drop us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you're a coach, let us know what your coaching philosophy is, your coaching experience. If you're a player and you worked under Mr. John Mapesa, let us know what kind of coach he is. And I think he's an interesting coach coming from the kind of background that he is. I know that you have coached with Coach Coach Walker. Okay, and Walker was a very flary coach. He was kicking bottles here and there. And what kind of impact did Walker have on you, and did that affect your coaching philosophy? Do you coach the same way, or you took another route from where he left off?
Walker, you know, when people look at Walker, they don't understand that he loves this game. I think he's
very
really,
passionate
so
about
passionate about this game.
Yeah.
One thing, Walker has a very loud side of him and a very soft side of him.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing people don't realize. If you learn to work within such kind of environment, it does two things. It either pushes you or breaks you. So if you understand that his intention is to push you, then you're good. Because you realize that most players who have come from Deja University, they're at high peak. You know, they're always pushed to the limit. So me, I got a chance to work with Walker. And one of the things I would say I learned from him, he does a lot of research.
Yeah.
He's so knowledgeable, but at times I think he has a very short time frame to express himself or to impart. So during my 4 years with him, I learned what I used to do. I see what he does. I see how he does it. When I go back, I change it. And when I come back, I tell him that, boss, you know why this thing is disturbing us? We need to change it.
Yeah.
But one good thing about him, he allowed me. He told me that, Johnny, you know what? That's why you're here. Your job is to make the best out of this program. So he gave me a lot of room to express myself.
Yeah.
And that is why even when he migrated, you wouldn't feel like there's a change because he empowered me a lot. And that one I'm very grateful. He gave me a lot of room, a lot of, actually he has experience. And when he's on the touchline, the passion drives him, and at times it overrides him, and
the emotions
take over. And the players who have been under him for a long time, you see, like the likes of Tim Jonah. Look at the people who have come from Deje. They are doing very well, and they can fit in any environment, any club. And you realize that by the time they are completing their studies, so many teams wanted them. And it's happening. So many teams are looking at Deje players. And it is, even now, I think you've seen that so many are moving to other clubs when they are done with their studies. So the reason why they would fit in is because of the push that they go through. So I would say that they're pushed to the limit. We really used to give them a lot of a run. And me, I would say that Walker was a good coach. I appreciated working with him, and I learned from him. And I'm trying to adapt to some of his coaching styles. Actually, he's one of the guys who insisted that, Johnny, yes, I know defense. I know you're good, but you can't play defense alone. You have to put, because you're gonna choke if you get a team that understands what you're doing. So that is why at the moment I'm trying to synchronize a little bit of more of offense. I would now give from 30%, I would try to take it to 40, but I'm still stuck to my 30%. I cannot give it. Because you realize that I know all the big teams. You realize that one of the reasons why I would say that Deje would penetrate any team in Uganda is because our defense is hard, our offense is average, but we run you down. We run you down because, you know, my philosophy again comes in. I believe in taking you for a run. If you cannot keep up, then you let me win.
So the secret to beating Indeja is just outrun Indeja.
No, you can't outrun Indeja because they're the masterpiece of the run. Because you'll find the defense there. They're very energetic, they're young, and they're ready for you. They have nothing to prove. True. But they have the fighting spirit.
They have that heart and the fight. Yeah, that's very interesting, and it's always good to know, you know, the people who have had an influence on you when it comes to your coaching journey. Well, we're going to get back into the main topic for today. We're looking at basketball, the grassroots. Okay, I heard that the under-16 team, okay, the Ugandan team that was actually supposed to go and take part in that tournament, was actually cancelled out. It's not the first team that is being cancelled out. We had the same problem with the Gazelles, who couldn't go to Kenya to take part in the Afro-Basket, but that's also a discussion for another day. We're still looking at basketball at the grassroots. With the experience that you've had coaching young kids and also coaching at the high school level, okay, what are some of the biggest problems you've faced at the grassroots when it comes to, let's say, players, when it comes to working with different institutions? And I also know FUBA has a part that it plays in all these issues. So what are some of the biggest problems that you've faced with basketball at the grassroots?
Well, basketball at the grassroots has, it has some challenges are because of our laziness. Some it's because of the structures. Because I would say that FUBA has one of the best structures with regards to sports development in Uganda. But I don't think they have empowered the grassroots structures to do so much. But again, when you look at the grassroots structure, they are crippled. You know, there's one thing that we have to agree. Money, funds. Let me talk about funds. Funding is a big issue because everything you want to do, you need a ball. Anything you want to do, you need facilities. Anything you want to do, you need a coach. Anything you want to do, there's so much. But you see, now, down there, if, for example, our structures as coaching association could do more voluntary than the cash side, then we would do ourselves a lot of justice. You know, by the now, because I remember there's a plan to register academies. But again, when you look at registration of academy, it means that these academies have to part with some cash, which is not there. And then the dynamics of running an academy also, you need to cash in to make the academy. Because when you're starting anything, you find that there's a hitch. You need to buy balls. You need a facility. And you realize that Uganda, one of the problems they lack is facility. They don't have basketball structures. Actually, you'd find that it's schools that have basketball courts. Out there, they are counted. You'd find that there are 2 or 3, which you can even run a program. So I think maybe FUBA should look at maybe adding the number of sports facilities in Uganda, because the population is big. The population is very big. The players are growing. I think we have more players. Uganda has the biggest league in East Africa. If not, I think it's one of the biggest league. And managing such a league, you need a home court, which we don't have. We are still renting. You saw we couldn't use YMCA for so many dynamics. You saw Lugogo, we are stuck. So technically, it is hard for this federation to run so much at the grassroots if they cannot even run what they have at the top level. So I think it comes back to investment. The priorities that probably FUBA will have, or the priorities that the guys, the investors, you know. I know I'm an investor, but I cannot build a court. I don't have the muscle to build a court. But we can outsource. I think one of the things that FUBA should now invest in is to look at how to have a home court and how to empower clubs to have their own home courts, which is happening now, but I think it's still not so sound. But coaches need to come back and be nice to the game. If you truly love this game, you have to do a lot of voluntarism to make basketball a success. Because like, I've done it. I've had my shot in volunteering. That is why you find that I've coached so many teams. And some of them, you would find that they don't pay me what they need to pay me, but because I love what I'm doing, I can take the little that they pay. Because now if you start looking at what they pay you, you find that it's transport. That is why now, currently, I'm only attached to specific entities which can able to
pay you for the work that you did way before.
Pay me for.
Well, that's interesting. You brought in the aspect of investors, okay? But the thing that you have to realize about our game is that it has to be at a level where it's marketable for you to have people coming in, okay? I don't think that FUBA has really marketed the game as well as it should. If we take an example of Rwanda, okay? Rwanda built that stadium that they're using right now, and that has brought a lot of visibility to them, with the NBA coming in and giving them now different programs, you know. And Uganda had the NBA, junior NBA actually, which I don't think is running anymore because of, you know, a few things here and there in basketball. Yeah. So what can, let's say, different schools, okay, different academies, okay, do to make themselves marketable to the level whereby we'll have big companies coming in to actually act as sponsors or partners, okay, with these different entities at the grassroots so that we can grow up the game?
Yeah, it takes me back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Start. You know, starting is the hardest. So, like me, you find that I have an academy, but most of it, you find that it's for free. I don't ask people to pay because I'm building.
Yeah.
You get it? So, if we don't volunteer to make something look worth partnering with, because if you start looking at money first, then you're not gonna build. So you have to build without money, build with the resources you have. That's why I'm saying coaches need to start volunteering, because in their academies they're not going to get money so much. You'd find that you have an academy but you spend more than you get. So if we can push that a little bit more as coaches, make it a little bit vibrant, get players, teach them so that when they play, you want to come and watch. You see, I have to attract you to come and watch. And some of them, you realize it's their parents who own some of these fuel stations. It's their parents who work in some of these big entities. So if their parents are happy with what we do down here, it would be so easy for them to want to be partner. You know, they want to be involved in what you're doing, and that's how it comes in. There's nothing new you're gonna do to bring sponsors in. It is the product you're giving. If they like what you're doing, they'll want to be part of you. So again, when you look at FUBA, when you look at Rwanda, that is a government initiative. So technically, maybe FUBA has to get the right technical know-who in there to make things happen, because you have to know someone in there to make things happen. But if you don't know somebody up there, then it will be hard for you to even approach, you know. But Rwanda, it was a government. Uganda, I think the only government entity we have is Lugogo, which is shared by every sport. So technically, when you talk about but it's me, what I know, it comes back to us as coaches to make the best out of us, build a package that anyone would want to be part of, and that's it.
We are slowly coming to the end of the show because we're running out of time. But before we get there, I just want you to, you know, talk to the people down there at the grassroots, because I'm also a part of grassroots coaching, you know, where you have to go to a school and coach kids. Some of them are in schools that really can't finance you, like you said, and you have to go and volunteer. And sometimes us as coaches, okay, or whoever is out there in the coaching fraternity, okay, there are a lot of resources, there are a lot of things that we do not have, that even if we wanted to volunteer, okay, sometimes it becomes hard. Because I'm going to a school, there's one basketball for 50 kids. You have 5 cones for 50 kids, okay? You're sharing a court with netball, with handball. Sometimes they're playing football on these courts, okay? So there are very many issues that even if you wanted to volunteer, you face as a coach, okay? So what can the NCS and FUBA for now do? Because we realize we're in a situation of lockdown, and you know, coming out of lockdown, we really need to engage these kids, because at the end of the day, it's these kids who feed into the national teams of the future, okay? So what should FUBA, National Council of Sports, and also the country itself do to support these grassroots in respect to resources, in respect to education? Should they put up some schemes? What can they do?
I think it comes back to how, FUBA, it comes back to FUBA empowering its structures down at the grassroots. Yeah. Maybe you find that you have coaches, but probably they're not structured enough to know what to do. There has to be a lot of workshops to let them know how best they can empower, how best they can bring up their academy, the likes of the academies that they want to. They have programs. Every coach has a program, but now at times they feel crippled when it comes to how to run this program. So I think the structures down there should be in a position to have a leader. There has to be a leadership structure that helps the grassroots. When you come to schools, you know, as coaches, that's why I'm very happy that FUBA has given us a lot. I think through FIBA, we've had a lot of courses that even if you have one ball, a school, you have so much, but you have one ball, it is still possible for you to still go to that school and still run a coaching course. Because remember, not all the time a player is always going to play with the ball. So you can do station kind of, you know, whereby this group is doing this group is doing that, but everything is geared towards the end results of building a basketball. So technically, don't feel shy that you have a school. You can even use your basketball. If you want to make the school be in love with a sport, show them that it is worth it. So show them you can resources. Do it. So you use your basketball coaching skills to be able to teach so many with one basketball. So you do group kind of sessions whereby you teach different skills. You know, when there are many, you teach different skills. And then when you talk about National Council of Sports, the only thing they can do is probably fund some of the facilities. You realize that the only thing that they also still rely on is Lugogo. Nambole, I think, was left to the dogs. So technically, NCS, I think they should, through government, I think the only thing is to lobby and put some facilities. That's the best they can do. And probably fund a national team after which they are doing. I'm not saying that they're not doing, but I think it is so sad if a national team can be in a position, you know, they have a chance of qualifying, and then they're just in the neighborhood in Rwanda here where they can even use a bus, and then you find that a team fails to go. And what I can tell you again, there was a high possibility that Uganda was going to qualify for AfroBasket.
That's the thing. And
you can never know now because they didn't get the chance to compete. You realize that Rwanda, you saw how Kenya and Rwanda played, how it turned. Kenya lost so many games, but they won the championship. At the end of the day. Uganda has won some. Actually, I think Uganda has a very good team. Both men and women. I believe, I do a lot of women coaching, and I believe Uganda would have made it.
Well, it's very good that we had you on the show today, you know, getting your perspectives and also your consultancy, which I think many coaches will have to pay for at the end of the day. But Johnny, would like to thank you for coming onto the show and just sharing with us your experience and also your thoughts on grassroots basketball. I believe that we'll also, invite you next time, because we haven't really, entered into everything we could have gotten out of you as a basketballer, as a coach. We also know that you step into other realms where you're a father and all these things, and all these make you a total basketballer. We just want to say thank you from House of Talent Television. And if you're watching us, remember you can catch us live on Facebook at House of Talent Television, on Twitter, and also on YouTube, and also on our website. We want to thank you for being with us today, wherever you watch the show from. Thank you. This was Slam Dunk Basketball Talk with me, Atengi Emmanuel, and John Mapesa Omondi. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.